Apparently, I'm making the push to the final boss already. Part of me kind of feels like that's a shaky idea, but I suppose we're pretty close to the bastard, and it's not like we've got all that many other things left to do in the game. At least, outside of grinding and possibly going through the PSP exclusive content. We're about as topped off as we're going to be, that's for sure, but frankly, I'd prefer if we had more elixirs and dry ethers, along with some bloody confidence considering we had so much trouble with Tiamat just before this floor. Well, you do have a distinctive look, even if it's been quite a few clips since we first met you, Garland. Oh dear, so we've got someone from the future mentioning a future event in a way that says it's his past. For a game with no narrative, this seems a bit complicated. Is there a particular reason that monsters that affected the elements of the world decided you were important enough to save? That's your big plan! I'm pretty sure that plan got a little messed up because we killed all 4 of them in this timeline as well as the future. Or am I misunderstanding something about this whole time loop thing? Because to be fair, I'm not all that experienced with them. As a side note, good thing we removed the cape and helmet. Those wings and horns would have been uncomfortable in them. I'm sorry, how is being stuck in a loop like that a good thing? Hell, why is he called Chaos when according to him, everything is going to keep on happening over and over again for eternity? Ugh, I guess I just can't wrap my head around things just right here. Anyway, this is our final fight of the game, the last boss. He is most certainly something worth being afraid of. Hitting damn hard and will occasionally heal an obscene amount. To make matters just that little bit more absurd, in the PSP version of the game, he has far more health than he does in the original, and every version after the PSP version gives him that same obscene amount of health. He constantly attacks us with all 3 elements, and there is no real way to fully defend against everything he's got, so our white mage is going to be very busy spamming those healing spells. Hell, even just thinking about taking the final boss on without a dedicated white mage on the team would feel obscenely stupid considering how much damage his weaker hits do. Hell, he's the reason that so many playthroughs, just in both this version and the Pixel Remastered, have ended with me just going, screw it, I'm not going the full way this time. Definitely not gonna let myself rage quit like I sometimes do if this guy gives us a hell of a lot of trouble, like I expect he will here. We are most definitely gonna beat this game. We'll just have to see how many different loops it's gonna take. I'm hoping just one, but I really wish that our physical attacks were more consistent. Seriously, why are some of those hits landing for about several hundred damage and others hit for less than 100? Why is our strongest magical attack doing less than 150 damage to an enemy with thousands, if not tens of thousands of health? And why do we feel oddly weak considering we're pretty close to level 50 at this point? Hell, I've had runs where I was completely stonewalled at level 60 against this guy. I get the feeling that as the final boss, sure, he needs to be more dangerous than everything that came before him, but the way he's been pulled off here, it feels like a prototype for the super bosses that Final Fantasy will have in later installments. There were no side quests outside of Bahamut to improve our class. There is no post-game content. Chaos is the absolute final hurdle, and he will make damn sure that when you win the game, you will have gone through hell just for the sake of bringing him down. Hell, I can certainly respect that the game designers made fighting him such an event that it's one of the most memorable things about the entire game. But I really wish he wasn't quite such a large leap forward in difficulty compared to absolutely everything else that came before him. He is just incredibly frustrating. Okay, apparently we didn't actually need that bit of healing. Definitely a good motivator to skip ahead to 4 for our next Final Fantasy playthrough. I'd really like a better idea of who is gonna move next, at least when it comes to our team, and to have the option to hold off on doing anything until I feel ready to use said character's talents, instead of having to give them an order based on a guess of how things are going to go in the next turn. That either really didn't give Mortal that much more stamina, and good God, do I wish we had a way to track Chaos's health in the game as well as our own. This bastard is the single biggest damage sponge in the entire story, which means that this one fight is going to last even longer than everything that came before it. I am just way too used to our team sweeping through way too many foes without any real concern about our tactics. It's part of what makes the fights against bosses feel so impactful. They are the only opponents we run into that take more than 2 or 3 hits to kill. And at the very least, Tiamat was good enough that if you don't have a solid enough game plan, you're going to get wrecked. And Chaos is significantly above Tiamat in terms of difficulty, to a point that I feel it's actually kind of broken. I definitely wouldn't have been able to spam the heal everyone spell anywhere near as much in the Pixel remaster, much less the most powerful lightning spell over and over again. And like with every other fight we've gone through, there's nothing to indicate how we're doing. We just know the bastard isn't dead yet. Speaking of dead, bloody hell, there's nothing I could have done in that turn to prevent Tyson from going down. Not unless I used a high potion from Wesker to keep him up long enough for the healing spell to land. But I certainly wouldn't have thought to do that, since I didn't know that Wesker would be the absolute next one to move, or that Chaos would make his strike immediately after Wesker brought down the thunder. Just like I couldn't have known when Wesker's Phoenix Down would land. I swear the turn system for this game is one of the biggest annoyances in it, but it's not something you really think about much until you get to a fight where you're actually struggling. Probably one of the other reasons I'm very much going to skip over Final Fantasy 2 and 3. They did not change up the way the turn-based combat worked until Final Fantasy 4. Then they didn't change it all that much again until Final Fantasy 10, with 12, 13, and 15 after that all trying something new each. While 11 and 14 were massive online games, not single-player experiences. It's kind of funny when I think about it, and it's also funny that a mostly single-player franchise has 2 MMOs as mainline entries, which, when those games stop being online, it is going to be tough for anybody to ever revisit them. Anyway, we've most certainly fallen into a pattern for this fight, and the only question is, will this pattern get us through before Chaos manages to take all 4 of us down? And based on how much footage is left in this clip, this fight is definitely gonna take a while. All for just this one boss. And now that I'm looking at the raw footage, there is apparently no chance in hell I'm gonna pull out of the dungeon like I thought I would in previous clips. I just have a lot of footage dedicated to bringing this one hostile bastard down. Everything after that is the credits, and some extra dead time recorded, because once the credits rolled, I left the room and didn't come back until a good chunk after the fight. Nice to know that there's actually not much footage for me to work through as I thought. But still pretty terrifying that this one boss stalled me for this damn long, considering how every other boss fight, even the tough ones, went. Sure, when you win this fight, it feels absolutely amazing, but good god. It honestly feels like the thing that determines if I win this fight or not is pure luck and not skill. Skill helps me last long enough for the luck to kick in. I'm not bad in terms of how I fight in this game. I have a very solid idea of the game mechanics and what to expect from our enemies, even if I can't describe things in terms of how it's programmed. We do not feel under-leveled until we get to the final boss. Hold on, just going to check the internet for how high level you're supposed to be for him. Okay, so apparently in the original game he had 2,000 health, in the PSP version and everything after that, 20,000. Every version of him after the original is just obscenely durable compared to everyone else. The internet apparently recommends grinding up to level 60 or 70 before you take him down in subsequent versions, and that beating him without that much leveling up is down to pure luck. Again, Chaos feels like he was made in the same vein as bonus bosses in later Final Fantasy games, where beating them is just something you do for the sake of bragging rights, not for any real rewards. I suppose that makes some measure of sense there. Especially in the story, since this is supposed to be a time loop. In most clashes against Chaos, the heroes absolutely crush everybody until they get to the final one, and then things completely reset and the loop goes over again, with maybe minor things shifting here. That kinda sounds like the sort of storytelling I'd expect from the likes of Dark Souls or something. Which kinda makes me wonder if Dark Souls took any inspiration from the first Final Fantasy for their franchise. Though it's just as possible I'm stretching for the sake of finding something else to talk about, as we're getting close to the halfway point of this clip. Another mostly wasted healing spell, and good god, there is no hint in the game itself for how much longer this is gonna go. Bloody hell, we have the best equipment we could possibly put on at this point in the game, and I do not think we'd be having it any easier a time if one or two of these characters were a different class. A ninja or red mage would not make much of a difference than our current team makeup, and dear god, this is just such a bloody struggle. Well, looks like Wesker is gonna be pretty much done throwing heavy magic around. One last spell, then he's stuck to basically just feeding ethers to Morn. He's done quite a bit of consistent damage, but we are climbing a mountain here. And unfortunately, we need Morn's mana pool more than we need Wesker's. And once again, we have wasted some MP because we didn't know what order everything would happen in the next turn. Bloody hell, there's just no way we can keep this up forever. Great, we're effectively down to 2 fighters, since the 2 mages are just trying to prevent us from going down before Chaos does. Shit! Wesker's been the one I had focused on throwing items. Please tell me we're gonna be able to pull off the win before Morn runs out of MP. We just cannot keep this up for much longer. And there goes our most durable guy in a single shot. Anyone else feel hope just draining away here? Fucking hell, we're taking punches that do higher damage than our maximum health. And yeah, Morn didn't have a chance to do anything in that last turn. That was absolutely grueling and demoralizing as all hell. Again, there is nothing to indicate just how much more we needed to do in order to finish this fight. And that was a damn long struggle before we went down. Were we just a few hundred health away from finishing the job? Well, I suppose the loop lasts a little longer. Hope that nobody minds that I'm gonna fast forward through every other attempt to beat the bastard down. On the one hand, I've had runs that I've given up on where my team was a good 7 or 8 levels higher than what this party has. On the other hand, we have the best equipment that characters of our class can wear. We have the greatest spells that mages of either school can put to the table. And, frankly, the amount of damage that Chaos can bring to bear would make things rough even for someone at maximum level in the game if you tried to just brute force your way through. I really wish my plans here didn't just boil down to hope we get lucky compared to last time, but we're essentially fighting against a deity so far above everything else we fought against that it's not even funny. The only thing that would make this fight more epic is if the game did more to hint at the fact that Chaos was sitting above the 4 elemental bosses, and that Garland was more important than just being the absolute first boss of the game before we reunited with him. Right. Time to get Morn on the constant loop of healing the rest of the team and hope that Chaos doesn't buff himself enough to just start one-shotting us again. I know we could keep using buffs like Protect and Temper, stacking things up for us to keep pouring on the hurt some more and defend ourselves a bit better, but with how inconsistent our physical damage has been, it just feels more tempting for Wesker to keep throwing the heavy hidden damage causing spells instead of hoping to make someone else's punches land harder or someone else's sword sharper, but I think I'll go against my instincts on this attempt, so we'll see how things go. But regardless, Morn really needs to keep the healing spells coming, since our defenses to soften his blows just do not seem to soften them all that much. Chaos hits damn hard even when he's not buffing himself. Well, Wesker nearly got taken out in a single shot, and we're only just getting this rematch started. Not something that's all that likely to make me feel all that encouraged for this attempt. Good God, this time I'm not even bothering to have Wesker send any offensive spells. He is just entirely on support duty. That's a lot of damage we're not doing per turn in this slugging match from him at the very least. Hopefully the enhanced damage from our physical fighters will be enough to make up for the lack of lightning blasts and fireballs we're throwing. Okay, the damage numbers are certainly looking pretty respectable this far in. Well, it certainly feels like a solid pattern we've got going for us right now. According to the footage, it took around 20 minutes to see if it worked or not, and even if the plans are good, the fact of the matter is, it can fall apart with ease if the proverbial dice land badly for us. We want luck to either be explicitly on our side, or at least neutral for a long stretch of time. Whereas Chaos only needs to get lucky a very short period of time for things to end very poorly for us again. Well, we're taking out about 1,000 health per turn. That's got to be a promising sign for this attempt. I have no clue if temper is really improving things here. It's not like the game does anything to tell us just how much these spells can stack together before they stop bothering to be stacked, or how long it takes for these buffs to wear off. Son of a bitch, Chaos just healed. How close was he to dying before he healed there? Will he heal again before this fight is done? Again, it's all a matter of luck. Please don't tell me we're gonna keep on fighting this boss even in the next clip. Definitely feels strange for Wesker to be using nothing but stat improvement spells instead of throwing fireballs and lightning bolts, but it kinda seems to be working so far. Though again, I'd like something to show us just how well it's working out for us compared to that previous attempt. Son of a bitch. Even my emulator is getting tired of how long this fight is going here. Just let it end soon, please. And by end, I mean let me win, so we don't have to go through the proverbial Groundhog Day loop long enough to become painfully familiar with it all. Probably didn't need to use that eye potion, but it's not like I could have known that before the turn went by. And as I say that, Tyson gets taken down in a single bloody hit. I seem to have forgotten where I put our Phoenix Downs in this rather stuffed bag. We do have plenty of them, but in the heat of the moment my eyes weren't seeing them. It's always a bad sign when you're getting frazzled enough that your eyes aren't sending you the proper messages that you should be seeing. Ah well, at least Wesker is sending offensive spells now, and Boromir is hitting incredibly hard for a strike. Well, I found the Phoenix Downs just as Boromir gets taken down in a single damn shot. Anyone else getting some bad flashbacks? Son of a bitch! Tyson couldn't even do anything before he was taken down again. Bloody hell, we haven't had any offense in how many turns now? Really can't tell how much better we did this time compared to last time. Well, apparently we did well enough for Boromir to get the final blow in. It actually feels pretty appropriate, since early in the LP, Wesker and Tyson got taken down in the Chaos Shrine. Not against Garland himself, sure, but still, it's a nice little hint how things would have gone from the start. So, yeah, I think we'll end this clip here.